I received a few questions from you on the issue of jobs, economy, and productivity. So let me stay here for just a couple of minutes. Mr. Bass, I'll start with you. Here's one that's kind of a dual question. How do you measure or increase productivity in the U.S., and how do you see that relation to employment here in the United States?
Well, the definition of productivity is the amount of productivity per unit of labor, or per unit of labor, or dollar expended in some capacity. And productivity goes up when people have modern equipment, when people have facilities that are working well, when transportation is good, when people are happy with their jobs, when consumer confidence is high. The first thing you need to do to improve productivity is take all the uncertainty out of or as much of it as possible out of the economy. This health care bill is creating uncertainty. The stimulus is creating uncertainty. High unemployment is creating uncertainty. And if we can provide incentives for businesses to invest in the type of equipment that they need to be more efficient and more productive, that's a start. If we can get the economy turned around so that rather than having individuals working for the federal government and not producing real products and goods and services for America, we have people working in private industry in a growing economy and producing real benefits to themselves and the economy and more revenue to the federal government. That's how we will increase productivity in America.
Ms. Custer, productivity and its relationship with raising the number of jobs.
Yeah, I totally agree about the amortization on the equipment, on the capital equipment. That's why I support that provision, and this is the first I've heard that Congressman Bass would support that provision. I think what we need to do is help New Hampshire businesses invest in themselves. And the way to do that is to give tax incentives, not for shipping jobs overseas to China, the way Congressman Bass voted, but for tax incentives right here at home for the creation of jobs. I've traveled all over this district, and I've sat down with managers and owners and workers and said, what would it take to create one more job in your business? What would it take to save one more job? There is no silver bullet. Not the deepest tax cut or the highest stimulus is going to turn this economy around on a dime. But there are practical steps that we can take. I've talked about repealing the capital gains tax for small business investments so that we can bring some of this money off the sidelines and into small business. Renewable energy, we've talked about that. It's a good example here for New Hampshire, but we need incentives and not the kind of special dealing that's been going on. Right today in our newspapers here in New Hampshire, we have an example of what's wrong with Washington and why we're not turning things around quickly enough. When he was in office, Congressman Bass created a tax credit that would benefit a company in his district. It happens to be owned by his nephew, a wood pellet company. Then he sets up a meeting for his nephew to meet with the Secretary of Energy to talk about funding that tax credit. And then by his own account, days after he left office, he purchased over $500,000 in stock in that business. It's now worth millions of dollars. And I believe that that kind of self-dealing, that kind of special interest is a mistake. It's not what we need in Washington. And when I go to Washington, I'll be working for the people of this district, for the small business of this district, and for the middle-class families that just want a break, not some special stock deal that's an insider company that the rest of us don't have a chance to advance.
Mr. Bass, you have 1 minute to
respond. Thank you. I guess it was my friend here, Annie Custer, who said that pellet fuels are jobs of today, not tomorrow. I have had the courage to step out and put my money where my mouth is. I'm invested in a company that's employing over 100 people, providing real jobs in the alternative energy industry with a carbon-neutral product. All the allegations that have appeared in the last couple of days are ridiculous, and I had no interest in this company until after I was out of Congress, and frankly, I'm proud of that interest. I also think it's appropriate for me to address this outsourcing argument that we hear over and over again from my opponent. In 2009, according to Barack Obama's U.S. trade representative, New Hampshire had $3.1 billion in exports, and a quarter of the entire workforce is associated with exports. And my friend's support of the Waxman-Markey bill, according to some, will outsource jobs to other countries. Matthew Slaughter, just day before yesterday, was quoted in the Wall Street Journal. He's an economist at the Tuck School up in Hanover, and said that for every single job that's outsourced in America, 2 new jobs are created. New Hampshire is an exporting state. We don't have our own natural resources, and we need trade laws that benefit us. And we're the beneficiary of free trade. We're not the victim of it.